I have been waiting for this precise moment to come along for like since 2017, people, and it appears like we are finally here. Why? Because guys, today was, to put it mildly, a beautiful day. The topic of today's video is the state of the economy, correct? And it appears that either the bears or we are going to become bullish once more. If there aren't any bulls at the moment, they soon will be. Look into this. Shattering. Guys, the US inflation rate drops to 3.3%, which is less than expected. What topics do we discuss? Pray and hope it turns out less well than you anticipated. Isn't that the reason we pumped? Though as of right now, we're cooling off a little bit because honestly, guys, we're not going to pump to 100,000 today. It will require some time. Therefore, until July 11th, 2024, folks, we should be optimistic. The market now has a simple justification to continue rising. Therefore, that's the explanation, isn't it? It's a common myth, folks, that inflation is on the down. Guys, it doesn't matter if it's probably been modified, right? As though I am concerned. I'm not that concerned. For the reason that markets will continue to rise, gentlemen, for the next month or so. That's just my view, right? Guys, we'll have to wait until next month to see this month's print. Guys, you have to admit that the USCT dominance is really amazing right now. We are currently facing resistance to the USCT dominance. Guys, because this has been holding it down since October 2023, this should hold it down, right? And I'm aiming for USCT dominance in this next leg down. Thus, funds will be moving from USCT into Ethereum, XRP, and Bitcoin, right, for this subsequent leg up. And before a block on event, I'm quite sure that's the last leg up, guys. Not to add, folks, we received our first trigger today, right? This is our first trigger, which is incredible. We actually do have a couple more tails at this point that will help us advance. Not to add that, folks, in a few minutes, we'll be discussing Brian Garlinghouse and how he verified our timetable. Because in my opinion, there is something really strange about the SEC vs Ripple case. First things first, people, we're going upward because the official suspension of all trading in US East dollars and euros is due to the breaching of Russia's Moscow Stock Exchange. You're leaving USC, right? What the heck does it imply, guys? An attack on the USC? Will there be a lower USC? Not to add that Saudi Arabia no longer uses the US dollar. Take a look at that. So many of these stories are emerging, especially in preparation for our next leg up, guys. It appears as though this enormous wave or this enormous blow off top is ready to occur. You do realize that. Ripple simultaneously announces a really strange coincidence at USC, right? Not to add, after a year of hard work, guys, Tether will introduce its new class of digital assets products on Monday, June 17th. This is another spark that will push us forward. Paolo, the CEO of Tether, comes out. Bears, you guys are done. He should get back into the habit of printing. I have not observed. It's been a while since I last saw him print. Is that right? Though LS is operating beneath the radar, this is a plan of action, right, guys? What topics did we discuss? They pump it higher when they dump it prior to the FMC. Not to add, even though we did pump, this is the reason I'm not saying it would pump to today or tomorrow, guys. At this point, we might consolidate for a little while. It's always the same, guys. Consolidate first, then pump. Or most of the time, if not always. We have roughly a month or two of bullishness left before the next CPI report, guys. So if we do stabilize for a little while before we see another similar higher, then so be it. Look at this, folks. Every time we have witnessed an FMC meeting. Following that, the Bitcoin rally was 74%, 19%, and 26%. How about now you understand once more, folks? I'm quite sure this is what's coming up next. And every time Bitcoin rises this high, it eventually stalls out. I believe that's where the entire season takes place. That's the reason I've been waiting for this, guys, since the end of 2017, for real. That's why I'm so happy right now. In case you were wondering, they didn't lower rates. That is unimportant. Why? Since, violating the Federal Reserve halts interest rates. Furthermore, this is irrelevant because we would run out of time if they cut now. It seems to me that this indicates the end is near when they make a cut. That's the end right there, guys. Consequently, the markets rise the longer they simply pause, right? As demonstrated by history. However, have a look at this. This is the strange part, according to Rippleback Rawlinghouse. Courts will render a definitive decision by September 21st of this summer, folks. September 21st. All right, so let's see by the end of the summer. The market thinks the Federal Reserve will begin to reduce rates in the summer. Will you give that a look? That seems strange, doesn't it? I'll explain something you don't want to hear. Guys, I think this has something to do with our time frame. Guys, September will arrive, right? Consequently, the markets pump. Somewhere over here, we probably observe a black swan incident. Am I right? We continue upward till July 26th. This is probably the end of the case, right? You guys remember when the Federal Reserve reduced interest rates about this time? The case terminates or concludes whenever they lower rates. Isn't that correct? However, I find it a little strange since I feel like that's when XRP will make its last push before they dump it once more. I'm not sure what XRP will cost at that time, $110, etc. Guys, I'm not sure. However, I have a good feeling that the situation will be resolved. And then, yes, the market dumps or the black swan comes in, and everybody's going to say, oh, XRP did nothing. Is that correct? In reality, XRP dropped following the case's resolution. You realize how impossible that is. Guys, get your XRP pumps in before the case ends because it will increase along with everything else that will arrive soon, right? But what if they throw it out as soon as the case is over? You do realize that, guys, people become frustrated. At that point, though, I'm not sure how much XRP is worth. Is it perhaps at a record high? Guys, I sincerely hope so. But the true rise will presumably happen after everything collapses. Isn't that right? However, before the Black Swan event, I'm aiming for $10. So fellas, let's investigate this. I believe there are certain things that are really annoying when you think back on the last few years, let's say the last 4 or 5. Why, if you will, did the SEC target XRP initially? We're almost at the very, very end of that voyage, you could say, looking at that today. Hopefully we've reached a settlement. It's beyond our control right now. When the time comes, the judge will make her choice. Someone asked me if it's at the end of August, and I said that sometimes it's before the end of the summer. I mentioned that summer ends on September 21st, thus I'm not sure. On occasion, I believe that August 28th, my birthday, marks the end of summer. What do you know? I'll ask her whether we can use that to commemorate your birthday. That would be. We'll all join you in celebrating. That's when it will essentially end, folks. How can we receive verification? It's beyond me. Was it not what I said that the lawsuit will likely end at the same time as the Federal Reserve lowers interest rates? I find it a little suspicious as a result. Really, really suspicious, folks. Very suspicious. Thus, this may occur if we pump beforehand, right? At that moment, let's assume everything else has climbed. However, XRP hasn't. Guys, the case ends just as the Federal Reserve cuts interest rates, so XRP takes off and closes the gap with the remaining market. After that, XRP dumps as a result of a black zone incident. Because we observe a black zone incident, the remainder of the market is stumped, correct? Guys, it's quite fascinating. Well, I'm not sure. I'm quite confident they're going to time something to stop and suppress the pumping of XRP, so something about this feels really off. Because XRP will be free at last, after the matter is resolved. Unless it's a black zone event, if Bitcoin dumps, XRP would, right? Then nothing else will stop it, and everything else would too. Interesting, you guys. We may have cracked the code, I think. Thus, till then, we go upward. Come on, let's go. People now anticipate that the Federal Reserve will proceed with its meeting-by-meeting strategy, am I correct? And by this year, gentlemen, they only predict one rate cut. That is untrue since there will always be something that breaks. Now, let's be practical, shall we?